The man under the awning was already there when I turned onto 3rd Street. I know that now. At the time, I didn't clock him as wrong. I clocked him as wet, as still, as someone waiting out a heavy burst under the dry cleaner's overhang. The rain was bad by then, coming down sideways off Lake Erie pressure, the kind that makes the whole city go quiet and gray. I had my hood up, my hard hat on from the afternoon sidewalk, my reflective vest buckled across my chest. 7 blocks to the parking garage. I walked it every night. I knew every broken sidewalk panel, every ginkgo root that had pushed the concrete up like a bad knuckle. What I didn't know was that he'd been standing there for a while, not waiting out the rain, just standing, not looking at his phone, not shifting his weight, not doing any of the small involuntary things a person does when they're cold and damp and impatient. The golf umbrella, black and white panels big enough to take up a whole sidewalk, was open above him, but he wasn't really under it. It was held off to the side, like an afterthought, like the rain didn't matter to him. I walked past him without stopping. He stepped out from under the awning. I heard the footsteps fall in behind me about half a block later, even, measured, maybe 30 feet back. I told myself, someone else, heading for the garage. Broad Street, 11:30 at night, not unusual. I kept walking. The footsteps kept walking. I slowed down just slightly to let him pass. He slowed down too, not matching me consciously. That's what made it wrong. There was no hesitation in it, no adjustment. Just the same even pace, recalibrated, like he'd done it before without thinking, like it was automatic. I turned left on 3rd. He turned left on 3rd. 3rd is one working street light and dark storefronts, and a lot of wet concrete, nothing else at that hour. The rain was loud on my hard hat, loud enough that I should have had trouble hearing anything. But I could hear him. That's the thing I keep coming back to. I could still hear him clearly. I got my phone out. Danny, my site foreman, 4 blocks away. Voicemail. I didn't leave a message because I didn't know what to say yet, because some part of my brain was still insisting there was a normal explanation for this, and I didn't want to be the idiot who called at midnight over nothing. That part of my brain was going to get me killed. I could see the garage from where I was, yellow glow from the exit ramps, maybe 150 feet ahead. I told myself, get to the garage, get to the lights, get to the car. I told myself, it's nothing. And I almost believed it. Then I heard his pace change, not louder, faster, not a lot, just enough. I turned around. I know that wasn't the smart thing, but something in me needed to see it, needed to confirm or deny before my body made the decision my brain was still arguing about. He was 20 feet away, maybe less, tall, wide across the shoulders, dark rain jacket, hood down, face completely dry. He hadn't been out long, he'd been waiting for me specifically. A black duffel bag, worn crossbody, one hand resting on the strap. The umbrella was down, just hanging from his fist, dripping. He was smiling, not at me exactly, more like to himself. Like this was a part of the evening that was going exactly as planned. "You forget something?" he said. Same even tone, totally calm. In that rain, I shouldn't have been able to hear him. I could. My throat sealed shut. Not a lump, a mechanical failure. Like a door that won't open no matter how hard you shove it. I turned and ran. I heard him start running too. He was fast. That's what I wasn't ready for. I'd clocked him as unhurried, deliberate, patient. And he was all of those things right up until he wasn't. The footsteps behind me went from measured to immediate in less than 2 seconds. And I felt the air change in my back. Felt the specific wrongness of someone closing distance at a rate that doesn't leave a lot of room for error. I made the garage ramp. I heard the umbrella cut the air. That's the only way I can describe it. A short, hard whoosh. And then the metal tip came down across the back of my hard hat, with a crack that went straight through my skull and down my spine. Without it, that would have dropped me right there on the concrete. With it, I hit the ramp wall with my shoulder, felt something hot and wrong detonate in the joint, and I used the wall to push myself off, and kept going. He didn't slow down. Second level. Fluorescent lights, oil stains, the smell of exhaust and wet concrete. I pulled out my phone again and got 911 on the line. I said the address. I said someone was chasing me. I said second level of the parking garage. The operator said to stay on the line. I heard him come up the ramp. I ran for the stairs, and my heel caught the edge of a drainage groove in the concrete. One of those long, shallow cuts they use so water doesn't pool. And I went down. Both palms. Right knee. The knee was the bad one. White behind my eyes, a hot spike up the thigh that wiped out every other thought I had for about 2 seconds. The phone skidded away. I could hear the operator's voice from the floor, small and tinny, asking me to respond. I got up. I don't know how. The knee was sending information my body was choosing to ignore. I made the stairwell. I went up, not thinking clearly about why, just moving away from the sound of him. Third level. Fourth. I was making a noise I wasn't aware of. Not screaming, not shouting. Something lower, involuntary. A sound my body was producing without consulting me. My breathing had gone ragged. Short burst in, short burst out, like I'd forgotten the pattern for it. I could feel my heartbeat in my damaged shoulder and in my knee, and behind my eyes all at the same time. On the fourth level, I pushed between a pickup truck and a concrete pillar, and I stopped. The garage went quiet except for the rain on the roof. Then I heard him on the level below, walking, not running anymore. That slow, measured step. "You don't have to do this," he said. Conversational, like we'd been in the middle of something and I'd made a rash decision he was willing to overlook. He was at the stairwell, coming up. I pressed my back to the pillar. I looked down at my hands, and they were shaking so hard I had to grip my own wrists to slow them. The reflective strips on my vest were catching the fluorescent light. I could see them strobing faintly every time I moved. I thought with the small, clear part of my brain that was still working, he can see you from 20 feet in the dark with those on. I yanked the vest off, couldn't get the buckle, ripped it over my head. Hard hat coming with it, both of them shoved behind the truck's rear tire. I cannot explain what happened to my body in the next 30 seconds. Tunnel vision. I mean that literally. The edges of my sight went dark, and the pillar I was holding was the only thing with clean edges. My hearing distorted. The footsteps on the stairs sounded like they were inside my head, and also very far away at the same time. My hands had stopped shaking and gone numb, which was somehow worse. He came through the stairwell door onto 4. I could see him from where I was, through the gap between the truck's cab and the pillar. He walked to the center of the level and stopped. Turned his head, listening. He was 10, maybe 12 feet away, close enough that I could hear him breathing, slow and even, not winded at all. He started walking down the rows. I pressed harder into the pillar. The concrete was cold through my jacket. I was aware that I was holding my breath, and that I could not hold it much longer, that when I exhaled, it was going to be loud, that there was nothing I could do about it. He turned into the road directly across from mine. Then he turned again. He came into my row. I watched his feet through the gap under the truck. Deliberate steps, one at a time, scanning as he moved, 7 feet away. 6. I heard the sirens before I felt the relief. Distant first, then less distant, then the garage entrance lit up in blue and white, and the sound filled the whole concrete space. He was 4 feet from the truck when he stopped. 4 feet. I could have reached out and touched him. He stood there for a moment that felt geologic. Then he turned and walked fast toward the east stairwell. Not running, just moving with purpose, the duffel shifting against his hip, and was gone before the police car finished pulling in. One of the officers found me behind the pickup. She said my name twice before I looked up. I don't remember coming down from 4. They found the umbrella on the second-level ramp, bagged it. The officer said something to her partner that I wasn't meant to hear. She said it was weighted. I've thought about what that means every day since. The shoulder was a partial rotator cuff tear. The knee was soft tissue, nothing structural. 4 to 6 weeks. The ER nurse asked if I'd like something for the pain, and I said I was fine. I don't know why I said that. I wasn't fine. My hands didn't fully stop shaking until sometime the following morning. They didn't catch him. The detective who came for my statement was careful with his words. The follow-up call was brief. There's an open report. I drive to work now, have for months. The site is 3 blocks from that garage. But here's the thing I keep coming back to, the part I can't put down. When the officer told me he was gone, she walked me to the spot where I'd been hiding. She pointed at the truck. She pointed at the pillar. She said, "Another few seconds, and he would have had you." I didn't tell her how close he actually was, how I could hear his breathing, how still he stood there at the end, 4 feet away, like he was deciding something. I've thought a lot about what he was deciding. I still wear the hard hat on the walk from the car to the site. I never did before. I'm not sure why I think it'll help. I'm not sure it matters what I think. I work nights at a 24-hour pharmacy in Decatur, Georgia. Have for 3 years. The shift runs from 10 at night until 6 in the morning. And most of the time it's just me and the fluorescent lights and the occasional insomniac buying cold medicine. I'm not someone who tells stories like this. I don't really talk about what happened. But it's been 8 months, and I still check my back seat every single time I get in the car. So I figure I need to put it somewhere outside my own head. It was a Tuesday in November, late November, when the rain in Georgia turned serious. Not summer rain, winter rain. Cold and mean and relentless, the kind that muffles everything. I remember it was a Tuesday because we'd had a shipment delay and I was the one who had to do the recount, which meant I was there an hour past my shift. By the time I clocked out, it was 7:15 in the morning, but it was so dark from the cloud cover you'd have sworn it was still midnight. The parking lot behind the store was mine alone. Our manager parks out front. I was the only car in back. I had my keys in my hand and my hood pulled up against the rain. And I was thinking about nothing. About getting home. About the leftover pasta in my fridge. About whether I'd remembered to set my heat before I left, when I noticed that the light on the far side of the parking lot was out. It had been working when I arrived. I was almost sure of it. I stopped walking. The lot was maybe 40 feet across, lit by 3 overhead fixtures along the back wall of the strip. The center light, the one above my car, those 2 were fine. The far one, at the northeast corner by the tree line, was dark. Below it, right at the edge of where the light stopped, there was a shape. I thought, shopping cart. There's a grocery store 2 lots over, and their carts end up everywhere. I walked to my car. The shape moved. Not much. Not fast. Just a shift in posture, the way something does when it stops being still. I caught it in my peripheral vision as I was reaching for my door handle, and I stood there with my key 3 inches from the lock, and did not move. It was a man. He was standing at the edge of the dock, not in it, right at the border between the working light and the dead one. Tall, heavy through the shoulders. He had on a dark jacket with the hood up, but not pulled forward, so I could see the pale oval of his face. He was looking directly at me. He wasn't doing anything, just standing there in the rain looking at me. I told myself, he works somewhere nearby. He's waiting for someone. He's having a cigarette. He's none of my business. I unlocked my car. "Hey," he said. His voice carried through the rain better than it should have. I don't know why that bothered me as much as it did. It was one word, just, "Hey." I didn't answer. I pulled the door open and got in and hit the lock, and sat there with my heart doing something strange and fast in my chest, and watched him in my mirror. He hadn't moved. He was still at the edge of the dark, both hands at his sides, watching my car. I started the engine. I pulled forward. In my rearview mirror, I saw him start walking. He wasn't running. That's the part I keep coming back to. He was just walking, steady and purposeful, in the same direction I was driving, which was toward the parking lot exit on Candler Road. I told myself this was nothing, a coincidence of direction, a man walking to his own car somewhere. The exit was a right turn. I turned right. He turned right. I went 2 blocks and turned left on flat shoals. He turned left. My hands were very tight on the wheel. The rain was coming harder. I put on my wipers and watched the mirror and tried to think of what I was dealing with. He was on foot. I was in a car. This was manageable. I called my boyfriend Marcus. It went to voicemail. "Hey, I'm probably fine. I just wanted to hear your voice. I'm driving home. I'll be home soon." I drove toward the Waffle House on Memorial Drive because it's always open and always populated, and I wanted people around me. He kept pace with me for 6 more blocks. I know that sounds impossible. He was walking and I was driving, and I never pushed past 25 miles per hour because of the wet roads, but that's still 25 miles per hour. I've thought about it since, and the only explanation I have is that he cut through yards through the side streets I couldn't see from the road, using the grid of the neighborhood in a way that meant he didn't have to follow my exact path. I know, because I tested it later, on foot. The route he would have had to take, it's possible. It's a hard run, but it's possible. He wasn't walking. I turned into the Waffle House lot and got out of my car and went inside and sat down at the counter and ordered coffee I didn't drink. The windows were fogged from the grill, but I could see the lot. I watched it for 20 minutes. No one came. The waitress refilled my cup without asking. I wrapped both hands around it and thought about how stupid I'd been, how I'd panicked over a man standing in a parking lot, how tired I was, how the rain made everything feel worse than it was. I paid and went back outside. He was standing next to my car. Not near it, next to it. His hand was on the door handle of the driver's side, just resting there. He turned and looked at me the moment I came through the door, like he'd been expecting me. He was maybe 6'2", bigger up close. The rain had soaked through his jacket and it hung heavy on him. His face was just a face, not monstrous, not obviously disturbed, just a man. Mid-30s maybe, eyes that tracked me in a way that my brain registered as wrong before I could name why. "I just need a ride," he said. I turned around and walked back inside. "Call the police." That's what I said to the waitress. I said it very quietly, and she looked at my face and nodded and picked up the phone behind the counter. I sat on a stool where I could see both the lot and the door. He was still out there, still next to my car. He'd moved to the front of it and was standing with his back against the hood, arms crossed, facing the restaurant, waiting. The police took 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock above the door the entire time. He saw the cruiser coming on Memorial, and he moved. Fast, the first time I'd seen him move fast, cutting across the lot toward the tree line behind the restaurant. One of the officers went after him on foot. The other came inside and talked to me. I gave him everything I had. Description: the pharmacy lot, the route, the hand on my door handle. The officer's name was Chen. He was kind, measured, and wrote everything down. He asked if the man had threatened me directly. I said no. He asked if the man had touched me or blocked me from leaving. I said no. "We'll look for him," he said. "You did the right thing coming in here." They didn't find him. I know because Officer Chen called me the next afternoon to tell me. I thought it was over. I changed my schedule so I'd leave at 6 instead of 7. I started parking in the front lot, under the camera. I told Marcus, who drove me to work for 2 weeks straight before the logistics became impossible. 3 weeks later, I was closing up the back room of the pharmacy when I heard the exterior door at the rear of the building, the one that leads to that same parking lot, open and close. That door is locked from the outside. Only employees have a key. My co-worker Priya had already left. It was just me. I stood in the back room with the inventory clipboard in my hands and listened. The stock room is separated from the back hallway by a door with a narrow window in it. I could see about 8 feet of hallway and the edge of the exit door. A shadow crossed the light under the exit door. Somebody was standing on the other side of it. I did not call out. I did not go toward the door. I went the other way, through the stock room and out into the main pharmacy floor, and I locked that door behind me, and I called 911 while I walked to the front of the store and unlocked the front entrance, and stood outside on the sidewalk in the cold until I heard the sirens. They found the back door had been propped, a folded receipt wedged in the frame so the latch wouldn't catch. It had been done from the inside, which meant at some point that evening someone had been inside the store, moved through it without being seen, and left that door ready to open from the outside. Priya had been there from noon. I'd been there from 10 at night. Neither of us had seen anyone who shouldn't have been there. Officer Chen came again. He sat with me in the break room, and his face was harder this time, more careful. "Has anyone given you a key to that back door?" he asked. "Me, the manager, and Priya," I said. He nodded slowly. He didn't say anything for a moment. "We're going to increase patrols in this area," he said. "I want you to call me directly if anything else happens." He gave me his cell number, not the precinct. His cell. The third time was the worst. 2 weeks after that, I'd driven home from a shift, parked in my apartment complex lot, gone inside. Marcus was there. We ate dinner. I fell asleep on the couch around 9 in the evening, which happens when you work nights. Marcus woke me up just after midnight. "There's a car," he said, "in the lot. It's been there with the lights on for like an hour." I sat up. My brain was still slow with sleep. "Which spot?" "Right across from your car, facing it." I went to the window. The complex lot is lit well, but not brilliantly. Enough to see shapes. There was a sedan I didn't recognize. Lights on, engine running. Through the rain-smeared windshield, I could make out the shape of a person behind the wheel, sitting still, not on a phone. Just sitting. Marcus called it in. I stood at the window and watched, and the car didn't move for the 12 minutes it took for a cruiser to pull into the lot. The sedan pulled out the moment the cruiser turned in. It ran the stop sign at the lot exit and turned onto our street and was gone. They didn't catch it. Partial plate. Marcus had thought to write down what he could see, but the angle was bad. Dark color, 4-door, nothing distinctive. I cried for about an hour after that. Not the way you cry from sadness. The way you cry when something that's been holding tension for weeks finally reaches the end of its strength. Marcus held me and I shook and my teeth chattered even though I wasn't cold. And he kept saying, I've got you, like a thing you say to someone who is falling. I was not okay. The next morning, I asked to be moved to day shifts. My manager said yes without asking why. I think my face told him enough. I bought a dash cam. I bought new locks for my apartment door, the kind with a pin above the handle. I downloaded a safety app that shares my location with Marcus in real time. I have not seen the man again. Not in a parking lot, not outside my window, not on any street I've driven down in the last 5 months. The prop door at the pharmacy was never explained. The police noted it, documented it. And as far as I know, it is an open case that will stay open because there's nothing to close it with. Officer Chen checked in with me twice after that last night. The second time, he said, "I want to tell you something, and I want you to hear it as information, rather than as something to be afraid of." He paused. "What you described, the consistency, the preparation, the patience, that's not random. That's someone who had been thinking about this for a while before the parking lot." I asked him what that meant for whether they'd find him. He said, "It means he's careful." I'm telling this now because I had a dream last night that I was back in that Waffle House parking lot in the rain. And when I turned around, he wasn't next to my car. He was already gone. And in the dream I understood, the way you understand things in dreams without being told, that he had gotten into my back seat while I was inside. I woke up and checked my back seat from the window before I went downstairs. It was empty. I knew it would be empty. I checked anyway. I'll probably check tomorrow too.